Come on.
I don't know if we have any, but we will hear highlights from the previous 10 weeks of the season a little bit later in today's program.
Hey, it's, I will say it's a chilly morning. Hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And, look, I will say this. Obviously, the season's been a total disaster. But this is the kind of game in the NFL the Jaguars should win. You're coming off a bye. You're at home. You basically handed them the first meeting. I mean, after Houston tried to hand it to you, you handed it to them. And Houston's playing their 13th game in 13 weeks. I mean, to me, this is a good barometer of, are these guys still remotely checked into this season? Because you couldn't have more intangibles going your way if you're the Jaguars.
An AFC South showdown at the bank coming up at 1 o'clock here on the Superstation as the Jacksonville Jaguars do host the Houston Texans. Our friend Frangie, of course, will be on the call, and he will join us here momentarily. As we alluded to, the last time we saw the Jaguars play a football game, they were defeated handily by the Detroit Lions up in Motown, 52-6. That was 2 weeks ago, Hayes.
Hey, a lot of people lose by 46 points.
We do have to revisit it briefly, just because that is the last time we saw the Jaguars play football. And while I know you've been on record here on the Superstation throughout the course of the week, and I know you are far from the only one who believes this is an ideal matchup for the Jaguars to get right. They have the second easiest strength of schedule these final 6 weeks of the 2024 season. But ultimately, you are what your record says you are, and you are what we saw the last time you took a football field.
That's the thing, is what's the buy-in level? I mean, if what Doug Peterson says in public is true, if they're still practicing hard, they're still getting stuff done during the week, then, you should be able to come back and at least put a couple victories on the board between now and the finish line. And, again, this isn't even so much about the Jags. This Houston team is almost crippled. I mean, to play 13 games in 13 weeks is a lot for anybody, but particularly when you've dealt with the offensive line injuries that Houston has dealt with. C.J. Stroud has really not been able to find his form because I think he's been sped up pretty much all year because of that line. They've had injuries at the receiver position as well. Defensively, Houston is solid. But I think in looking at it, if you can get the win today, I mean, obviously it's going to take a miracle for them to play meaningful football, as we get to New Year's Eve and that first weekend of January. But the Houston collapse is upon us. It is coming. And I think the Jaguars have a great opportunity to continue that today. And if it happens, Houston will have lost to Tennessee and Jacksonville heading into their bye week, and we'll see what happens with the Colts. But I think the Colts might lose in Foxborough today. So, I mean, again...
Are you saying there's a chance?
Yeah, well, I mean, I could see the champion in this division being 8-9. So the math would tell you you're in it if you can get hot. I just question, what's the fight in this team? Is there still anything left in this team where, they will rally and take advantage of a much softer schedule?
Well, as a matter of fact, Hines Allen, was asked earlier this week why this team needed a bye and if he still sees the fight, because the last time we spoke to him, the last time our media contingent at large spoke to Josh, he was mincing some words up in Detroit after that 52-6 loss.
I mean, we're fresh, it's 1 week season, obviously, but just coming back, I feel like, the bye week was needed. Obviously, I'm not looking past any of the losses that we did have leading to that point, but just we needed a refresher. Not saying that we didn't need to go to work again. If we had to, we'll figure it out that week, but the bye week was really, important to take care of our bodies, our minds, just everything as a whole. I know for sure I needed it. Feel fresh, I had more time to look on Houston, so now I'm even more prepared going into my matchup, even though I play them every year, but still, there's still details so I can allow myself to play faster that I caught up on during that time I was off. That allows me to play with confidence, allows me to play faster, so when we come back here, we get the scheme that we're playing defensively, that allows me to tie everything in together.
That's been a common refrain we've heard the last 2 weeks, Hayes Carline, including Last Monday, when so many of us thought there would be changes made in Duval County, this idea of it's been a long 11 weeks, this team needs a break, they are mentally, physically fatigued. But I have to ask, aren't there 31 other teams that are also mentally and physically fatigued? And I think we also need to, here throughout the course of the 2 hours we're coming at you live from Tailgaters Parking, dispel this notion of the Jaguars being banged up. We'll get to the quarterback here in just a second. But this is, for the most part, a healthy defense, if nothing else, since I know it is missing a couple pieces on offense. And so they're out of excuses, are they not?
I think they are out of excuses. I'm interested in what you think. How do you think they'll handle coming out of the bye? And we'll get to our picks later, but just what do you think we'll see functional operation and high intensity today?
I am genuinely curious to see what these changes are that Doug Peterson has kept close to the vest throughout the duration of the week.
Great song by David Bowie, by the way.
This idea of you're not going to make any staffing changes, but things that you do will have to change. Well, okay, we asked, will the rotations change? No. Will the run game change? We'll get to that here in just a second. He said there are things philosophically that will have to change there, i.e. maybe run the ball. And so that is what I'm most curious to see. You can say those things or not throughout the course of the week, but we've heard it from players in the locker room throughout the course of the season, Hayes. They feel like they are prepared and they have a game plan and they've done everything right until the moment they take the football field. And so Doug Peterson can say, we need to make more of an effort to run the ball. We need to make more of an effort to generate a pass rush. I don't know. But ultimately, I can't believe I will see it until I see it on a football field, because that's what I've seen through 11 weeks of the season.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, again, the run game's got to be there today for them. I mean, I think a big key to this game is finally finding some harmony between Etienne and Bigsby. And it's not, they get along fine. But when I say harmony, just incorporating them both in, and some of this has been health. One of them's been out or something like that. But you do have them both today. And can you find offensively, if you are a gifted offensive mind at this level, you should be able, with those two talents, to incorporate a harmonious structure where both running backs can succeed. And we really haven't seen that. And they've got to have it today, because your franchise quarterback is probably one hit away from possibly being done for the afternoon. What he's trying to play through is really, really difficult. So, in terms of protecting Trevor's shoulder, you got to lean on that ground game. You'd love to see Bigsby and Etienne, get 40 combined carries today. I don't think it'll happen, but I think that would be a fantastic benchmark for them to shoot for.
Not to mention, you'll be going up against a Texans team that in a 32-27 loss to the Tennessee Titans last week gave up 119 yards on the ground to Tony Pollard, 132 rushing yards overall. That is why, not to bury the lead or just spoil my X Factor coming up in just a little bit, but that is going to have to be an emphasis. That is something that if Doug Peterson and the staff really did change it, we need to see it on the football field coming up at 1 o'clock from Everbank Stadium. One thing that we can tell you, Foye Oluwakim, 3-time captain here in Jacksonville, says don't buy what you're hearing from the outside. The locker room does remain united.
Just think about it. That's just the credit to the guys on the team. Every interview, people ask about the locker room. And, we don't have people ready to point fingers, or if it is, it's nipped in the, I don't know the name saying, but, we cut that out real quick. Right. And it's special, but we want wins to come from that, obviously. It's cool to, have everybody keep working towards the same thing. Nobody's checked out or nothing like that. We all want to get it right. However many games we got left in the season, we want to get it right. And I think this is real, pride towards being on this team, pride towards, being in this city. But, we have a duty to get this right before the season ends.
We will probably know, Hayes, in the first 10 minutes, but ultimately I go back to that victory over the Patriots, in which after the first quarter we thought that Doug Peterson would not make it on the plane back from London. And, of course, the Jaguars turned things around in the second quarter. So I would say By about 5 minutes into the second quarter, we will have the answer to your question of, are the Jaguars checked out, or do they believe there is still a chance at 2-9, but having that second easiest schedule in the National Football League remaining?
Without a doubt, and they can put a lot of pressure on Houston early. I mean, if they're able to get off to a fast start, they just have shown no signs that they're able to do that. They've been outscored in the first quarter by 28 points this season. They make up for it by being outscored by 51 in the fourth. So they don't start fast, and they can't close. And those are the kind of things that, coming out of a bye week, it does give you a chance to reset everything. And if you're Doug Peterson, that's the message that you have to sell, and hope that, that you get your leaders in the locker room to buy into it and it trickles down. But that's a big thing today. I mean, if Houston comes in and gets up 10-0, it's hard for me to see the Jaguars, staying in the fight. But conversely, if they're able to do it, Houston's looking forward to that bye week. And if you can get them down early, then, who knows? I mean, again, they can't protect Stroud. So the more you can put him in obvious passing situations, the better, even for a Jaguar defense that has stunk. No excuse for them not to be able to put pressure on C.J. Stroud today.
The good news is that we will see Trevor Lawrence under center, or that at least is the expectation, for the first time in more than 3 weeks. Here he is earlier this week, though, because while, yes, the expectation is that he will play today, Hayes, he is not ruling out potential season-ending surgery.
It's been a pretty difficult thing to gauge, honestly, of what's the best path forward. Definitely something that I'm considering, and not off the table at all. So it's something that we're going to have to just truly, day by day, week by week, hopefully I'm able to get back out there this week or as soon as possible. And then it's going to be just every week kind of evaluating it, seeing where it's at. And obviously up until this point, I've been doing everything I can to avoid that and want to be back out there with my guys and finish the season. So that's my goal. That's what I want to do. And then beyond that, I wish I had a better answer for you, but I just don't right now.
I think as long as it doesn't look like Trevor Lawrence is playing at 50, 60%, like we saw down the stretch of last season, ultimately him playing gives you the best chance to win the football game. He knows that. This team knows that. That's why he's playing today.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I worry about next season because you're pretty much out of this race. I mean, there is a chance that they get hot and Houston falls apart and the Colts can't really get enough going, and 8 wins gives you a chance to win this division. But it's
is it two steps forward for one step back? And
that's the thing. That's what I worry about. You're pretty much already out of this game, meaning the 2024 season. So if you look at the NFL season as a hand of poker, you're pretty much out of this season. You've got a bad hand. And there's really not much you're going to be able to do to get out of it. My worry is, by jeopardizing Trevor playing through this, are you now jeopardizing your 2025 season? Because, look, it's probably going to be a new vision of Jaguars football. And you want Trevor available for every physical rep that he can take. And if this is an issue that he puts off and it either gets further injured or he ends up just saying, you know what, I'm going to have the surgery, but he's having it in late January, then you worry about what does that do for his timeline this offseason to be sharp for the 25 season. So, again, I think this is an instance where if the franchise had, I'd say, more football minds that weren't fighting for their life, if there was that filter between ownership and coach and GM, where you could have somebody say to Shad, look, this kid, we shouldn't be playing him. I mean, we're 2-9.
And we invested $250 million plus in him.
Right.
Do you really want to risk, outside of the stadium renovation project and the shipyards project, the largest financial commitment you have made to this city? Without
a doubt. And so I'm incredibly nervous about it. And if it was me, I would probably not play him. But I understand the math says you're still alive in it, but boy, to me, I mean, seeing him talk like that, it's something where I appreciate his toughness, but this is a young man who you hope is going to be the quarterback here for 10, 15 more years. And I don't like the idea of him being one hit away from, something that could be, fairly devastating to that shoulder.
And to your point, could he also have to learn a new offensive scheme, a new head coach, a new regime this offseason? That is also part of the equation. But we're not talking about that variable just yet because, Carline, as you said, despite coming off of that 52-6 loss, despite the 2-9 record, the Jaguars have a chance today at 1 o'clock hosting the Houston Texans, a team that is leaking oil. The Terminix Kickoff Show brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, rolling on here from Growler's Bar and Grill at the Tailgaters parking lot. Stop by, say hi. We are on the east side of Everbank Stadium. And, of course, if you would not like to come out in 41-degree temperature, because I know that it's a little bit chilly for those of us here in Northeast Florida and Southeast Georgia, you can interact with us on the text line, Design My Lifetime Enclosures, at 641-1010. You also can hit us up at the MyBookie Digital Studio. Just search 1010XL on YouTube. We're right there at the top of the 1010XL page. Click on the live video, and you can leave a comment, a score prediction, a thought, or a question for Hayes Carline or myself as well. The voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars, Frangie, joins us on the other side right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Sometimes I Give Myself Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it be shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since 1999. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for 25 years. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call Mike today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofingfl.com.
Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the Taxpayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today, and let's score big for education at TaxpayerGatorBowl.com.
Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJax.com on 1010XL.
Everything about the game has changed, except for the most important thing. What you have inside. It is what drives the game. It refuses to be ignored. It sweats everything, turns an athlete into a legend. Gatorade, is it in you?
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
Hey, sports fans, it's Hayes Carline from MyBookie. Hope everyone enjoyed Thanksgiving. Let's get the week started off right with MyBookie. This weekend, We've got an NFL game Friday night, a ton of college games Saturday, and, of course, some bangers on NFL Sunday. Jacksonville hosts the Texans at 1 p.m. Sunday, is a 5.5-point home dog. Take the points, take the Jaguars. The Texans are playing 13 games in their 13 weeks. They need a bye. The Jaguars are fresh. Next, the Ravens are 2.5-point home favorites over the Eagles. Take the Eagles there. Then Sunday Night Football, San Francisco is in Buffalo. I like the Bills there. I like them big. Still the best sign-up deposit bonus in the industry is available to Florida bettors, so what are you waiting for? Sign up now, get a double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000. Again, that's promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Make yourself a winner this weekend with MyBookie.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
A chilly 41 degrees here at Tailgaters Parking as the Terminix Kickoff show rolls on. I'm curious, though, for the voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars, Frangie. 41 degrees. A little chilly? Is this football weather? What say you, Mr. Frange?
So good morning, Mia, to you and Hayes. Look, I'm looking outside. I haven't walked outside, but it's bright. It's sunny. I was thinking it's 75, 80 degrees. Now, I haven't tried it yet. So apparently, giving your weather report, I'm off a little bit. So,
Note that I didn't say, because I was going to say I don't think Frank has stepped outside yet, so it's probably a nice, 70-some-odd degrees wherever you are in your house.
Right about 72. Right about
there
70.
We go.
It's a good 72, so there you go. Let me tell you what I think. My friend Shane Matthews, who's a two-time SEC Player of the Year for the Gators and now is on the Gator Radio Network, says this. He says football weather is 75 and 80 degrees where everybody can throw the football over the place. But America tells us football weather is like 50, right? So I can tell you this, somewhere in between, I think it's going to be a gorgeous day for football. I think the high is going to be 60 today, 61, not a cloud in the sky. Nobody's going to be hot in those seats. Nobody's going to be sweating. I hope it's a good crowd, and I think it's a great day. Now, look, it's easy for me to say in my 72 degrees when you guys are shivering in 40. I get it. But I think it's going to be a beautiful day for football. I love a day like this. I really do.
Yeah, and right now there's really no wind, so we'll see if that continues. But yeah, the conditions really aren't bad, other than it's a little nip in the air. But Frank, what do you think the energy level will be for this team coming off the bye?
I think for the team it'll be good. I think they really needed to get to that bye. Doug Peterson talked about it beforehand. It was a tired team. Whether it should have been or not is inconsequential, Hayes. It was a team fatigued. A 2-week trip to England. And I think when there's noise in the system, as they say, it's even more emotional and more trying. I also think when you play a lot of close games, that you run out of gas. Then I think last week or 2 weeks ago in Detroit, this team had played all those close games. They wake up Sunday morning or go to bed Saturday night with the Ian Rappaport report that really implied that their coaches are all going to get fired the next day. Now, he didn't say that, but the implication was hold on to your hat. Then everybody's got to hold on. I think all of that together, it was an exhausted football team. I'm not making excuses. They were 2-19. But I think it was an exhausted team, and I think they'll be re-energized a little bit today. And to the point you've made all along, the Texans are now that tired team. They still haven't had a bye, and they played in the Hall of Fame game. So they're a team. I was talking to some of my friends in Houston, Mark Vandermeer, the terrific play-by-play voice, and a few others. That team's really tired too. So I would imagine the Jags will have good energy and the better of the two teams' energy today at Everbank Stadium.
Frank, we have stressed that we are moving on from the worst statistical loss in franchise history, that 52-6 result up in Motown. Let's touch upon it one more time, though. When it comes to what went wrong 2 weeks ago, when it comes to that Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network report that you alluded to, is there a path forward for this team, or was that just such an emotionally devastating defeat that even if the Jaguars are to pull out a victory today, you really can't get past the result of what occurred 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's a fair question. It's a very good question. I do think, they say flush it and move on. It's hard to do. You can say that all you want. I do think what history tells us, though, Mia, what this season tells us is, and most NFL games are like this, by the way, not just Jags games, but the NFL has come down to the fourth quarter game. The Chiefs have lost once all year. The Raiders have won twice all year. And that game came down to the final seconds of the game. I think that's the way the NFL goes. I think that's the way the season has gone for the Jags. You know the drill. 6 losses by 5 points or less, all those games decided in the final minute 17 of the game. I think that's more who they are. I think that's what the season tells us. But it also tells us they're a team that can't finish. So I don't think they're going to be hindered by what happened in Detroit. It was one awful night or awful day. Put it behind you and go play. But what we do know from the season is they're a team that hasn't been very good at finishing. Now, maybe getting Trevor back helps that. At some point, they're going to finish. It's been a weird year. I mean, first of all those close games. Then they had all those NFC teams in a row who were all good. I mean, what are the chances that Green Bay and Detroit and Minnesota and Philadelphia are all going to be so good? Those teams aren't good every year. But by God, they're good this year, and you got them all in a row. I think you needed to catch your breath after that, and I think this team has. I think they'll play better today than I do.
Frank, what's your expectations for Trevor?
My guess is they'll play it a little closer to the vest. I don't know that. But I would think, and I heard you guys talking earlier, and Hayes, you and I have had this talk during the week. My friend Jeff Lagerman, Jeff and Tony Baselli, two of the smartest football people I know, and that's why I enjoy working with them every Sunday afternoon. I mean that sincerely. Jeff Lagerman thinks it's really important that Trevor plays. He thinks if Trevor can play, every teammate, every equipment person, every person that has a Jaguar logo on needs to see him out there playing. Now, if he's hurt, don't put him out there if he's hurt. He thinks that's to be a leader, not just this year, but to be a leader for the next 5, 6, 7 years that he's signed up to be the leader. The fact that he's on the field matters as opposed to sitting on the sideline in a sweatshirt while Mac Jones and C.J. Beathard are quarterbacking the team. He thinks it's very important that he plays. I think that's a big part of this. I don't think they'd put him in harm's way, but I think everybody believes if you're the leader of this team, you have to be out there, and you have to be out there if you can, and your teammates have to see that, and people in the weight room have to see that. So I think it's critical that he plays. But I wouldn't imagine there's going to be a lot of RPOs, Hayes. I wouldn't imagine there's going to be a quarterback sneak unless it's late in the game and you really need it. I think you're going to try and keep that thing from getting hurt. What I've kind of been told is he's not going to injure. He's not in danger of injuring at worst, but it's going to be sore, and he's going to have to play with a sore left shoulder. And I think you protect him as much as you can. The other thing too is, Hayes, finally, this is the first time probably since the beginning of the season that both Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne are perfectly healthy. I mean, full go, nothing hampering them at all. I think that's a pretty good running back room when they're both healthy. And I think you finally have both guys healthy. So I would imagine you're going to see them run the ball a bit today.
Frank Frangie will be on the call at 1 o'clock today from Everbank Stadium with the aforementioned Jeff Lagerman, the Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, as well as the NFL Network's Bucky Brooks as the Jaguars host the Houston Texans right here on the Superstation. You brought it up, Frank. I was just about to ask about the run game because that feels like the one thing that throughout the course of the last 2 weeks, when we in the media have pried and asked Doug Peterson, what changes will we see? That is the one concrete answer that he did give, that something philosophically in the run game has to change.
Yeah, philosophically, they're not showing their hand, nor should they. But if you remember, Mia, back at the beginning of the season, even before the season, Press Taylor, I think it was, said, "Listen, we've got to cut the running game back to the studs and figure out what we have to do differently for this team to be what they want it to be, for Trevor to be as effective as they want it to be. They've got to run the football now more than ever because two of the perceived starting receivers they thought they'd have all year long are gone for the year, Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis. So the best receiver you have left is a really good player, but he's new to the league, and Brian Thomas Jr. So you got to run the football." Now, whether that philosophically, whether they change their run schemes or change their blocking schemes, I'm not football guy enough to know that. But I think the commitment to running the football, if they've ever gotten away from it, and all teams get away from it from time to time, they've got to be committed to it. On a day like this, I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, if you don't see as many carries. Now, look, if you get behind, that changes. But assuming that you can control the tempo of the game and can control the game by not being too far, either being ahead or not being far behind, I would be surprised if you don't see more running plays called than just about any game this year. That would shock me if they don't play it that way.
Do you think that Jaguars' defensive front can take advantage of a woeful Texans offensive line?
You hope so, Hayes. I think if you look at some of the areas that have really struggled with the Jaguars, I think the two lines of scrimmage are probably first. I think the offensive line has struggled, and I think the defensive tackles have struggled. I think Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker not only are good players, but are playing well, both of them this year. But the reality is after 17.5 sacks last year from Josh Hines-Allen, everybody's paying attention to him. He's getting chipped and doubled almost every game, every play. That's what they're doing, and Trayvon's getting a lot of that too. The way you mitigate some of that, Hayes, is with good play from your tackles. And let's be honest, we're always honest around here. The tackles haven't been very good. I think if there's one area where this team has really struggled, it's the defensive tackles. They've tried Devon Hamilton and Tyler Lacey and Jeremiah Ledbetter, Jordan Jefferson and Big O, and they want to get Mason Smith back. He's had that ankle for the longest time. Those guys haven't had a good season, and if you don't get any push in the middle, you know this. If you don't get any push in the middle, your outside guys can't do anything. And I think that's the problem. So to your question, yeah, the offensive line for Houston's really struggled. That is a real problem area for the Texans. That has as much to do with them losing 3 of their last 4 and 4 of their last 6 as anything. But you have to have some help from your defensive tackles for your defensive line overall to affect that, and let's hope they can.
A couple more for Frangie on the Garber Automall hotline. Let's move to the second level of the Jaguars defense. Frank, what do you expect the lineup to look like at the linebacking core this week?
I think they'll do what they've been doing. I think they'll alternate their 3 guys. My guess is, and I'm guessing here, but I'm guessing Foye Oluokun and Devin Lloyd will start the game. And when I say linebacking core, you're talking about the 2 inside guys, right? I mean, I know they play in base, there's 3 guys, but nobody plays base anymore. So I think when you're in nickel, which is now, probably 75% of the time, I think Foye and Devin Lloyd will start the game, and then Ventrell Miller will alternate. And by the end of the game, all 3 will have played the same amount of plays. Now, look, they've been playing Foye almost every play, which I think is smart. I think he's their best player. If it was me, Mia, I'd have a hard time not playing Foye and Ventrell Miller all the time. I think they're your 2 downhill linebackers. I think they're your 2 explosive linebackers. When they are in base, Foye plays out there at the Sam because he's the one guy that he's probably the best of the 3 at playing in space. But I think you're going to see Foye and Devin start the game. I think you'll see an awful lot of Ventrell Miller, which is how they've been playing, and I don't expect much of a change at that level.
Does Brian Thomas Jr. find the end zone today?
Boy, I hope so, Hayes. I mean, there's not a if you plan on scoring, if you plan on getting to the end zone, right? That's the idea. There's not a whole lot of guys that are accustomed to doing that that'll be dressed out today. Brian Thomas Jr. is accustomed to it. Evan Ingram's accustomed to it. Your 2 running backs are accustomed to it. That's about it. Now, hopefully Parker Washington can make a difference and Devin Duvernay can make a difference, and whoever they pull up, whether it's Elijah Cooks or Austin Trammell or whoever, Josh Cephas, whoever the next guy in line is can. But the bottom line is, if you're going to get the ball into the end zone, he's the guy that has done it. One other thing about him, too, Hayes. I think when the Jaguars did get on a little bit of a roll offensively, the one thing they did earlier in the year is throw the deep ball to number 7. I think somehow, even if you have to force it a little bit, I think something vertical to Brian Thomas Jr., it opens up everything else. It started opening up that crossing route to Christian Kirk, and then Christian got hurt. But if you remember, when Christian kind of got into a rhythm the last 2 or 3 games before the injury, he was running those crossing routes he ran 2 years ago. And one of the reasons they were there is because of that deep ball to Brian Thomas Jr. I think you got to get Brian Thomas Jr. involved. What happens with these young players, and we all know this, we've talked about this, and Doug's talked about this. You come into the league. You've never been in the league. You've been in the SEC. Great league, but it's not the NFL. And then you make all these catches because people aren't sure what they've got. Well, then everybody sees you on tape. Well, people say, okay, this guy's really fast. He can change directions. He's got a bunch of gears. Well, now we got to shade him. If you want the Vikings game a few weeks ago, the Jags, it felt like they double teamed Justin Jefferson every play. Remember that? Every play. And he still kept making catches. Well, part of the maturation of a young receiver is to learn how to deal with the double coverage and the safety over the top. And I think Brian Thomas is going through that, and I think every game he gets used to that, he'll play a little bit better. But I'd throw some deep balls to 7, Hayes. I really would today.
One more for me on the defensive side of the ball, Frank, before we ask for your X factors for both the Jaguars and the Texans in today's matchup. Again, going back to this concept of changes, and I know that Doug Peterson's playing it close to the vest. We have no idea exactly if there will be changes, what they will be. But what do you expect the lineup to look like in the secondary? Obviously, Doug told us this week the rotations will continue. Do you think you'll see more Dewey Wingard? Do you think it will be more of a true rotation? What are your expectations at both the defensive back and the cornerback and the safety position?
I think safety will be what they've been doing. I think safety will be Darnell Savage playing a good bit of the time. He's evolved into their best safety probably. And Andre Cisco and Antonio Johnson alternating at that other spot. That's what they've done the last few weeks, and I would think you're going to see that. So I think Cisco and Savage will start the game at safety. My guess is you're going to see an awful lot of Antonio Johnson because that's what they've been doing, and that's been working. Tyson Campbell's fine. Jarian Jones is going to be the nickel. The question I would have is at the other side. Ronald Darby's been kicked off. They've attacked Ronald Darby, and I think everybody knows that. Do you play Monteric Brown back there more? I probably would. I would probably say, listen, our young guy, Monteric Brown's pretty good. He's not great, he's pretty good. If there's anything, I wouldn't be surprised to see a little bit more of Monteric Brown in place of Ronald Darby. I think the rest of it will stay the same. And as far as the changes go, if you really listen back to that press conference, someone said, Doug, did you make the changes you needed to? And he said yes, and he didn't want to elaborate. I don't know that there's going to be these exotic changes. In the NFL, you got your 53 players. That's what you have. So I don't know that there's going to be – does one guy sit somewhere different in the coach's booth than somebody else did? Is somebody signal in something that didn't, something that none of us will notice? I'm thinking that more, Mia, than these drastic personnel changes that have us all going, wow, a quarter into the game. I don't think you're going to see that. I don't think you can. I don't think that's the way the NFL works. You can make subtle changes operationally, but there's not a whole lot of personnel changes you can make. If there's one, and I'm guessing, by the way, I don't want to misrepresent this. I don't have any insight on this. But I would guess the safety situation is going to look the same. Tyson Campbell is going to play every play out there. Jarian Jones is going to be your nickel. I would probably play Buster Brown a little bit more than Ronald Darby, which they have not done in the past.
All right, Frank. Who is your X factor for the Jags in today's matchup, and who is your X factor for the Houston Texans?
You know, it's funny. I hate to keep saying the same guys over and over for the Jags. I find myself doing it on a regular basis. But and obviously Trevor's the guy to watch today, right? I mean, if Trevor comes back and plays, they're a different team. But I'm going to go with number 4 again, Mia. I think Tank is healthy. I think he's their best downhill runner. I think Travis Etienne's a wonderful player in space, but I think you got to run the football some. So I think if Tank Bigsby has carries, has numbers, plays well, then I think they've got a chance to have they'll play well today. I think as for the Texans, I'm going to go defense. We could talk about C.J. Stroud and those offensive guys all we want, but Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, I never called I told Doug this. I never called either of their names the first time the teams played. I mean, that's two of the best, and that's one of the best end combination in the league, Hunter and Will Anderson. And I went back and listened. I remembered that. I went back and listened. I never called either name the entire game, which meant the Jags did a pretty good job on those two guys. If those two guys aren't affecting the other team, then the other team's going to have a pretty good offensive game. So I think Tank Bigsby's got to run it for the Jags, and I think those two great ends who did not affect the game last time these two teams played have to play well for the Texans.
8 sacks for the Houston Texans in the first half of their loss to the Titans last week, 0 in the second half. And yes, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson held scoreless, if you may, in the first meeting. The Texans took that meeting, though. We'll see if the Jags can split the season series. Frank Frangie will be on the call with the Hall of Famer Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks. And we appreciate you joining us as you do each and every Sunday, Frank, on the Terminix Kickoff Show.
All right, man. Hey, stay warm. See you soon. Take care.
Thank you, Frank. And, of course, Frank's interview brought to you on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. One thing we really didn't get a chance to touch on, Hayes, I know I alluded to it in the opening segment, the idea of the Jaguars' injuries being grossly exaggerated at this juncture. We're going to hit the Farrah and Farrah injury report coming up on the other side. Spoiler alert, 2 names. 2 players on this entire roster have a game status designation heading into today's matchup. We'll do that and more coming up on the Terminix Kickoff Show. Be sure to get in on the conversation on the text line, Design My Lifetime Enclosure, 641-1010, or at the MyBookie Digital Studio on YouTube. Leave us a comment, leave us a score prediction, a question, a concern. I see you guys on YouTube are already firing up the chat. This is 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Turn on the radio.
In your car, 92.5 FM and 1010 AM.
Would you like to drive for a while?
In your house, at the beach, on your phone, at the gym, on vacation, out of town.
Well, everyone knows that.
Download our free 1010XL app for all smart devices.
Huddle up at Hurricane Grill and Wings, where every day is game day. From their famous wings to refreshing new cocktails, serving up the flavors you crave. And score big with awesome happy hour deals. It's the perfect spot to catch all the football action while enjoying your food faves, cocktails, and beer. Don't miss out. Grab your friends and family and swing by Hurricane Grill and Wings and see what everyone's cheering about. Find the restaurant nearest you at hurricanewings.com.
Injured in an accident that's not your fault? Don't worry. Zach's got your back.
I'm Zach Von Rowan at Von Rowan Law, and over the past 20 years, I have fought to recover millions for my clients throughout Jacksonville. If you've been injured in an accident, have mounting medical bills, can't work, don't worry. Zach's got your back. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve and will be there every step of the way. Go to Zach'sGotYourBack.com to set up your free consultation with me today. Zach'sGotYourBack.com.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, you talk a lot about a diamond's cut grade. Why is a diamond graded for cut?
Frank, that's simple. We cut grade diamonds to show a measurement of beauty and light return to the person looking at the diamond so they can understand the value difference between a diamond cut for maximum beauty and one cut for maximum weight. Now, it gets a little more complicated when you find out that the American Gem Society Laboratory actually assigns performance grades and proportion grades using patented computer software and grades for polish and symmetry using a microscope. The end result of cut grading is a final grade that can go from a 0 or ideal to a 10, which is poor. Each of these grades are priced a little differently. That's why you can see a diamond with a fine color and clarity priced low, particularly on the internet, because a trained gemologist won't buy it for resale because of the poor cut. Unfortunately, these type deals aren't good deals. They're bad deals for the unknowing customer.
Underwoods in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
It's the end of the year sale with Universal Roof and Contracting. Get 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a $250 gift card for holiday shopping. With financing options as low as $150 a month, protecting your home's never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP, and this offer expires December 31st. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. He's not Pistol Pete, he's Pete Prisco.
Been on the wanted list almost 20 years.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Frangie Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called The Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and DC 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank NA, member FDIC.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
XL is presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. The personal injury attorneys of Farah and Farah present this injury update. Farah and Farah, Jacksonville. Exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I do believe this is the first time all season that the Jaguars' opponent has more players with a game status designation on the injury report than the Jacksonville Jaguars do. That deserves a round of applause, Dylan Denmark. Pockets back at 1010XL World Headquarters. The 2 players on the Jaguars injury report who do have game status designations, Yasir Abdullah already ruled out with the hamstring injury, and then, of course, Trevor Lawrence listed as questionable, expected to play with the left shoulder injury. The 3 other players that popped up on the Jaguars injury report this week, a lot of injuries that we've seen them nursing throughout the course of the season. Brandon Scherf with that knee, also listed as having a shoulder injury as well. Tank Bigsby with the ankle that forced him to miss that 52-6 loss to the Detroit Lions. I think people forget, Hayes, that Tank Bigsby was not even available for that game 2 weeks ago. And then finally, Tyson Campbell with the shoulder injury was limited in practice this week as well. But by far and large, the Jacksonville Jaguars are a healthy outfit.
Yeah, it's great to see. And again, I think the running backs, that's going to be really fun to watch today. And you just hope that Peterson and Press Taylor can put together a game plan that highlights them both. I mean, you've got Bigsby and Etienne both do dynamic things for you. And it just feels like health has been a big part of it, but it just feels like even when they've had them both, it's been hard for them to figure out how they want it to work. And they need to get rid of the hierarchy of it. It's like you've got two good backs, use them both. Like it's 1 and 1A, and hopefully that'll be a little. Again, I use the word harmony. It's Etienne and Bigsby are great friends. They get along great. It's not about their relationship. It's the offensive game plan. Can you use both those guys, highlight their skill set, and really give Houston a major problem? Because if you can get both those guys going today, Jaguars are going to be in great shape.
Again, 119 yards on the ground for Tony Pollard last week in the Titans win.
Who's done really nothing all year.
No.
I mean,
and that offensive line has been suspect.
Yeah.
That's a battle of two suspect offensive lines last week in Houston. But the Titans offense has not been this power running outfit, and yet they were able to run all over the Houston Texans. We will see if the Jaguars can do that today coming up at 1 o'clock. The aforementioned Houston Texans have 3 players with game status designations on their injury report. Former Jaguar Foley Fatukasi already ruled out of this game with a foot injury. Jalen Petrie, the standout safety, third year in the league, also ruled out of this game with a shoulder injury. And the pride of Jacksonville, Xavier Hutchinson, the wide receiver who, honestly, Hayes, probably was expected to play a major role here today and still could play, is listed as questionable with the shoulder, knowing Stephon Diggs is done for the year. And this team has gotten limited contributions at times from their other depth wide receivers, not named Nico Collins. And Tank Dell has, quite frankly, regressed in year 2.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, it all goes back to, can they protect Stroud? And so Frank made a great point. Those interior defensive tackles, they've got to do something today to collapse the pocket on Stroud. You feel confident about Hines Allen, Trayvon Walker, that they're going to be disruptive. But, boy, you got to get something, something in the middle there. Because, if you can do that, then, yeah, I wouldn't anticipate Houston having a big day throwing the ball. And Nico Collins is an outstanding player. That'll be a tough matchup. How do you think Ryan Nielsen will go about trying to defend Nico Collins?
Well, we will hear from Tyson Campbell a little bit later in the program. And while Tyson and Doug Peterson were non-committal as far as him trailing Nico Collins, that's my expectation. I think you have to put your alpha number 1 cornerback, who you also paid handsomely. It wasn't just the quarterback and your star pass rusher who were paid handsomely this offseason. You have to say to Tyson Campbell, just like you did once upon a time when your season and your backs were against the walls in 2022, and you said, Tyson, you are trailing Devontae Adams. It is no more of this Mike Caldwell, you cover side A and Darius Williams covers side B. If you are the alpha number 1 corner, you need to cover their alpha number 1 wide receiver. And that's what he did that day. I'd like to see a performance like that from Tyson out there today. And speaking of some of the threats for the Houston Texans, Will Anderson will be available for this game. He did not practice Wednesday, was limited Thursday, practice in full Friday. Ditto to Danico Autry, who did not play in the first matchup between these two sides. And as I asked Doug Peterson earlier this week, he adds a different dimension to their pass rush that certainly cannot be ignored.
Without a doubt. And Danielle Hunter is playing at such a high level as well. So, I mean, you look at statistically Houston defensively, and, it's not bad at all. They're 5th in yards allowed. They're 1st in interception rate. They're 3rd in sack rate. They're 10th in third down. So it starts with Hunter and Anderson. And both those guys being healthy today is going to be a gigantic challenge for the Jaguars. And really is the element of this game that I think could tilt things to the Texans side pretty quick if they're able to get to Trevor quickly. Because, again, Trevor playing through that injury, you got to think he's going to be sped up too, that he's not going to want to be patting the ball in the pocket, that it's going to be, okay, let's get it out. Now, hopefully, like we talked about, Bigsby, Etienne, really that's the offense today. That's 80% of the attack. But obviously any NFL game, there's going to be several instances where Trevor's going to have to throw it. And if Hunter and Anderson are able to wreak havoc, then it's going to be another long day here.
From one of our listeners in the 3-2-1, my plan, Mia, is to keep Trevor around 25 attempts, continuously pound the rock over and over with Bigsby and ETN, wear them down for once, win the time of possession game. That's a great submission on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures, and it brings us to our X Factors. Hit it, Denmark. Mine's quite plain and simple when it comes to today's X Factor.
They'll run it with Bigsby again to the middle of the field, lowers his shoulder, into the end zone, touchdown. And that's the icing on the cake here in London. Tank Bigsby for the score.
I told you we didn't have any highlights from Detroit 2 weeks ago because there weren't any. And also because Tank Bigsby didn't play in that game, Hayes Carlion. He will play today. And my expectation is a heavy dose of both Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne. Look, speaking of the Lions, no one is proving it more, and I feel like a broken record because we say this each and every week on the Terminix Kickoff show. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, two very different running backs, can coexist. I believe the same can be said for Tank Bigsby and Travis Etienne.
Yeah, it's a great point, and hopefully that is the case today. I'll stay on the offensive side of things. You've got to find some supplemental receiving yards today. What I mean by that is Brian Thomas Jr. is going to make plays. Evan Ingram's going to make plays. But you can't count on Brian Thomas Jr. going for 140 today and Evan Ingram giving you 80. Like, you've got to find other pieces. Parker Washington, Brenton Strange, Elijah Cook's got, an elevation to the 53. Like, you've got to find something in that supplemental passing game because, look, I mean, Houston obviously is going to do whatever they can to stop Brian Thomas Jr., and they're well-versed on Ingram. So I expect both those guys to put up good numbers, but you've got to find that third element. Somebody else has got to step up, whether it's a couple key third down conversions or just an explosive play. Something is going to need to aid this passing attack. If it's just Thomas and Ingram, it's not going to be enough.
Parker Washington, 1 catch on 3 targets against the Detroit Lions. Devin Duvernay, 0 catches on 2 targets. I go back to the games against the Vikings and the Eagles, Hayes, in which Parker Washington, and at least one of those two, don't quote me on which one it was, but I know one of the two, 0 targets. And, of course, that's not to even go back to that Eagles game when Brenton Strange, coming off of a career-best game, played 9 offensive snaps. I couldn't agree more with your X factor that we have to see something from those other wide receivers on the Jaguars roster. We are going to hit our keys to the game coming up on the other side, but I am going to give you an X factor for the Houston Texans as well. Joe Mixon did not play in the first meeting between these two sides. I know I mentioned Danico Autry not playing in that game as well, and how that certainly has changed the complexion of the Houston Texans defense. Joe Mixon has had 6 games of 100-plus yards on the ground for Houston this year. That is important because even last year when this Texans team that went on to win the AFC South had no one who could run the ball and were anemic, Bobby Slowick was committed to running the football. And so that is where I look at this game and I say, you know what? If you can do what the Tennessee Titans did last week, limiting Joe Mixon to 22 yards on 14 carries, that in and of itself can win you a ball game. On the other side, if he goes over 100 yards, that will change the entire trajectory of this football game.
It's a great point, and again, this is where I get back to the fatigue aspect of this game. Jaguars coming off a bye, Houston playing their 13th game in 13 weeks. The run game, it feels like it collapsed for Houston against Tennessee in their loss last week. Are they able to find it? That's got to be an element where it is difficult when you're playing your 13th game, 13 weeks, you're on the road. Can you get that extra strain, that extra angle, that extra millimeter of a block? Does Mixon, he did miss some time, and so he's not playing his 13th game in 13 weeks. He's probably a little fresher, but still, his blocking, are those guys, is the energy there, is just the help there for them to be able to run the ball consistently against a team that's well rested. But Mixon has had such a fantastic year. Really been part of one of the big storylines in the league this year has been the return of the running back, and a lot of these guys are in new locales, and Mixon's right there with Saquon and Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs, guys like that. He's an outstanding player, and he certainly is capable of having 100 yards plus against this Jaguar defense. But I think the Jaguars are going to be able to contain him, just because I think
even with the deficiencies at the defensive tackle position.
I do, because I just think they're tired. I mean, if both teams were coming off a bye, if the rest was equal, then I think Mixon would be in line for a big day. But I think when you are a fatigued team, the run game goes quickly.
So we've got Travis Etienne and Tank Bigsby on one side, Joe Mixon on the other side. Some smash-mouth football in some 50-degree weather here in Northeast Florida. That is our X factor for this game. Although, as I see in the 1010XL multimedia group chat, we're currently joking that it feels like Antarctica here at Tailgaters Park and Growlers Bar and Grill, where we are broadcasting to you live from. It'll be a little bit warmer when the Jaguars and the Texans kick things off.
Do we have a high today? What's the high today?
I think it's 62.
Okay, that's
we can handle that. That's not too shabby.
Yeah.
That's not bad for December 1st, which, oh, by the way, happy December, everybody. Yeah. Let's make this a December to remember in Duval. We'll keep the conversation going on the other side. Our keys to the game brought to you by Instant Keys come up next on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade.
Welcome to Rockville. North America's largest rock festival returns to the Daytona International Speedway in 2025 with Green Day, Korn, Shinedown, and Linkin Park. Plus Bad Omens, Incubus, Good Charlotte, Rob Zombie, Alice in Chains, Pierce the Veil, Marilyn Manson, 3 Days Grace, Sublime, Hailstorm, I Prevail, Three Doors Down, Jimmy Eat World, Motionless in White, Bush, Chevelle, Mudvayne, and so many more. Welcome to Rockville takes over the Daytona International Speedway May 15th to the 18th, 2025. 5 stages, 4 days, and over 150 bands. 4-day, single-day camping and VIP passes on sale now at welcometorockville.com.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the Taxpayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today, and let's score big for education at TaxpayerGatorBowl.com.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
What's the weekend in sports look like? I'm Dan Hicken, and I'll give you my take on the Weekend with Dan. Find it on YouTube and Facebook. Weekend with Dan, brought to you by Stone Core. We do outdoors better.
This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM. Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL. Home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5.
Clearwater scores.
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com. Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric.
What's happening, sports better? E to the T here, and I hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving Sunday and got the week started off with my bookie. This weekend, we have an NFL game on Friday, a ton of college games on Saturday, and of course, some bangers on NFL Sunday. Jacksonville hosts the Texans at 1 p.m. on Sunday as 5.5-point home dogs with a 43.5-point over-under. It's hard to bet on the home team at this point, but crazier things have happened coming out of a bye. Next, the Ravens are 2.5-point home favorites over the Eagles with a 40-point over-under. Both teams play good defense, so take a hard look at the under. Then on Sunday night, San Fran is traveling to Buffalo, where the Bills are 7-point favorites with a 46-point over-under. Keep an eye out on if Brock Purdy plays, and then place your bets accordingly. Still the best sign-up bonus in the industry available to Florida bettors. Just use my promo code 1010XL to double that deposit bonus. That's promo code 1010XL. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with my bookie. Come on, somebody.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, the keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys. Fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
You know, that's something that we have to do better as an offense. We have to run the ball better. And it's not just the running backs. It's all 11, right? It's the quarterback putting us in the right run if we have run checks. It's obviously the offensive line, the tight ends, and we know the running backs. So that's an area that we've got to improve. But having two healthy running backs right now definitely helps that. You know, Travis could definitely be explosive and get you some tough yards when needed. And we've seen what Tank has done, you know, early in the season and all of that. So it's good to get them both, you know, out there and get them both back in the offense.
It has been a common refrain on this morning's Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. Welcome into hour number 2. Mia O'Brien, Hayes Carlyon. That is the voice of the head coach of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, he is still the head coach, Doug Peterson. With regards to what changes we may see in the Jaguars matchup at 1 o'clock today with their AFC South rivals, the Houston Texans, the run game. Quite frankly, Hayes, this is where it's so frustrating because I don't think it's a matter of just the offensive line not blocking properly. To Doug's point, yes, all 11 players have to be in perfect harmony when it comes to the run game. But this is so much more about, quite frankly, yes, I'm going to go back to that the play caller calling run plays and not being afraid when you only get a yard. You only get 2 or 3 yards. That is not a reason to go away from the run game. Hey, shout out to the Florida Gator fans out there. What did we see in that game last night? When you commit to the run, you may only pick up a couple here and there, but it is done with the effort to set up play action and to also create the opportunity for that longer run that might pop 4 or 5 plays into the ball game.
Without a doubt, it's a great point. And, you know, the other thing, other than obviously the rest in a bye week, is Doug Peterson and Press Taylor really should have a pretty good idea of the tendencies. My guess is they were giving things away, and hopefully self-scouting, they were able to identify those things and break those tendencies today. And throw D'Amico Ryans and his defensive staff off a little bit because it's just hard. I mean, the Texans are going to operate off of the game film that they've seen, but that's where having a bye week, having a chance to look at what you're doing, not worry about an opponent, but just let's take a week just to look at what we're doing. Are we giving things away? My guess is they probably were because they're too talented, to your point, for the ground game not to be more effective. And they do have to be committed to it, and that does go to a play caller. It goes to Doug Peterson delegating way too much of his offense. And, you know, again, when this thing reaches its end in 6 weeks, that's going to be very high up in everybody's story. Did he delegate too much to Press Taylor? And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find Jaguar fans that feel like, that no, he has not. It's been a problem. It continues to be a problem. And but I am hopeful that at least with a week to really hone in on what they were doing, they're able to break some tendencies and I think eliminate maybe some of the tells that were there.
I know you said your X factor is getting those non-Brian Thomas Jr. wide receivers involved. But now we've hit our first key to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys, is running the ball and the commitment to running the ball. Our X factors of Joe Mixon for the Texans, our X factor of Tank Bigsby, Travis Etienne for the Jags. I think that sums up the offensive side of the ball for the Jaguars and what they need to do today, outside of course, keeping Trevor Lawrence upright, keeping him healthy. That is certainly a key. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, because for me, that is where this game is largely going to have to be won for the Jaguars, especially if time of possession is to be in their favor. Doug Peterson on Wednesday asked about Nico Collins, who did play in the Week 4 matchup between these two teams, a 24-21 Texans victory, but, of course, missed time in the middle part of the season, and I think that's a big reason the Texans' offense has been leaking oil.
I love the fact that Tyson's back, but I'm going to tell you something. You put the film on and you see Nico running all over the place. It doesn't matter who's over there, covering him. He's an outstanding player. And, he made some plays late in our game the first time, and that's probably why they won that football game. But getting Tyson back gives you, gives you confidence in the secondary. And looking forward to that matchup this weekend.
So it'll be interesting. We both agreed. We believe that Tyson Campbell should be trailing the number one wide receiver for the Texans. Maybe you roll some safety help over. One way or another, as Nico goes, the Texans tend to go. On Helmets and Heels a week and a half ago, I said to Taylor Dahl as we were doing our contenders and pretenders in the AFC and NFC playoff picture, I said the Texans are a contender with Nico, a pretender without him. They had him last week, though, and they still lost 32-27 to the Tennessee Titans, and that was with Nico Collins going for almost 100 yards.
Yeah, he's outstanding, and that'll be a big test, and I'm with you. I'd love to see Tyson shadow him all day. The coaches will say, well, if you do that, then it makes your defensive game plan really simple. So what? You're dead last in defense. I mean, what are we doing here? So why not go ahead and just say, yeah, it's going to be simple, but we're going to put Tyson on Nico Collins all day long, and if they beat us doing that, they beat us doing that.
And guess what? You invested so much money in Tyson that should be the expectation.
Absolutely.
And it's not like you're giving away that big of a secret.
Right.
You would expect Sauce Gardner to go up against the number one wide receiver if you're the New York Jets, who, by the way, will be here in town the next time we come at you live from Tailgaters. You would expect him to trail Brian Thomas Jr. You would expect Patrick Surtain, if you're playing the Denver Broncos, to be trailing and shadowing your number one wide receiver. That's why I don't think it's like it's any breaking news to say, yeah, we're excited for that matchup, as opposed to, yeah, it's great that Tyson's back, but we got to look at some other things in the rotation.
Yeah, without a doubt. And this gets to what I think is a big key, not just for this game, but for the final six for the Jaguars, and it's third down. Third down is your greatest indicator of how your coaching staff is doing. And it's just been an abomination for the Jaguars. They convert 32% of the time on third down offensively. They give up 45% of third down opportunities defensively. That's a 13-point difference.
Almost 50%.
I mean, I don't know how they sleep at night with those numbers. I mean, that number has got to be shrunk. The goal for the final 6 weeks is, look, guys, we are what we are. I mean, you're not going to turn these numbers, you're not going to flip these numbers, and all of a sudden you're converting 45% of your third downs and the opponent is converting 32%. That's not going to be able to – that's not realistic. But can you at least make it to where maybe instead of being a 13-point discrepancy, it's 5? Can that be a window? Can that be a goal that you can set for yourselves and achieve? That needs to start today because, I mean, if you look at it at the end of the day and the Jaguars are 3 of 14 on third down and the Texans are 8 of 17, they're going to lose the game. I mean, it's third down is everything in this league, and the Jaguars are awful on both sides of the ball doing it.
Now, a big reason the Jaguars give up nearly 45% of their downs is because their opponents are constantly in third and short. And that is where that opportunity to create a third and long and generate a pass rush that has your former number 1 overall pick and your former number 7 overall pick on opposite ends, that is the opportunity that the Jaguars need to seize. I did ask Doug Peterson this week about changes to generate more pass rush.
Yeah, I think, the rotational thing has helped us, has kept some guys fresh. We got to continue that. We got to continue to find ways of, I think, moving our guys around a little bit without giving away a game plan, being able to put our guys in positions to be successful, to try to get an advantage if you can. And Eric plays more inside, great. If he's outside, great. Wherever they line up. It's a matter of just trusting the scheme, trusting the technique, and just playing with a lot of strain and finish.
Sweet baby Jesus, I hope that cryptic answer is to say yes. Eric Armstead will be on the interior. Maybe it is to suggest you line Trayvon Walker up on a guard, Josh Hines-Allen up on a guard. I don't know. The first time we talked to Ryan Nielsen back in the spring, he was so excited at that prospect, and yet we have yet to see this true, hey, this is the weakest link in their offensive line. Let's line our best defensive lineman up against him. You have yet to see that through 12 weeks of the season.
Yeah, it's a great point. And again, how Doug Peterson could get up there in front of the Jaguar fans and say it doesn't matter whether Armstead's on the outside or inside. I mean, that's preposterous. He's a tackle. He's been a tackle his entire career until he showed up here.
If you're looking for
dreadful free agent class they've brought in, and it's like he needs to be playing in the interior. Yeah, I'd love to see Trayvon get some reps there too, utilize his quickness. But to me, it starts with, again, over these final 6 games, if you're going to make a run, Eric Armstead needs to be playing in the interior. And by the way, no one else has stepped up. It wouldn't matter if Devon Hamilton or Mason Smith were having this huge year. Then maybe you could continue this farce of Armstead as an edge player. But they're not.
If you're looking for a segment from today's program to clip on YouTube, this is the one. This is the one. When it comes to Eric Armstead playing inside versus outside, it's been a talking point. Could it change here in Week 13? Final key to the game brought to you by Instant Keys for me. It comes down to pride. We alluded to it earlier. Josh Hines-Allen minced his words up in Detroit. Here he was earlier this week when he was asked about the Jaguars' defensive effort the last time we saw them on an NFL game field.
That's still kind of, 600 yards. I think it was 600 yards. So that's crazy to me. So I'm not really excited about that. Like, just even thinking about it, it's a bad taste in my mouth because, you are what you did last week or the previous game. So, to get that taste out of this mouth, we have to go out there and we have to execute at a very high clip this week. And, I'm excited about that. We're going to play really fast and really violent this week. And I'm excited to
449 passing yards, 196 rushing yards. That is how much offense the Jaguars surrendered to the Detroit Lions the last time we saw this defense out there. And Josh is right. The only way to get rid of that bad taste in your mouth is to go out and play. Again, they've had 2 weeks to stew on it. What do the stars of the Jacksonville Jaguars think of today's matchup? We alluded to it off the top of this segment, Hayes. The matchup between Nico Collins and Tyson Campbell could be appetizing. I spoke with Tyson earlier this week in the locker room to get his insight on today's matchup. Pleased to be joined with Jaguars cornerback Tyson Campbell. Tyson, happy early Thanksgiving, and how are things going as we come off the bye week?
Happy Thanksgiving to you. I'm going well, man. Just allowed us to, get a break mentally and physically. Now we got a 6-game season, ready to make a run, but we're going to take it 1 week at a time.
Do you completely disconnect during the bye week? Do you find yourself watching football, or is it better to get so far away from it?
Main focus was just seeing my family. I ain't seen them in a minute. But then, of course, the love of the game. And actually brings you, watching football. I was watching the Browns and the Pittsburgh game. That was a good game. And, college football, of course, and some of the games on Sunday. So, just to always being a student of the game, enjoying the game. But I did take some time off for my family and myself.
You alluded to it. It's a 6-game season now. You guys have been in this situation before, though. Back against the wall, must-win situation. How would you describe everyone's approach from when they arrived back at the office on Monday?
Everybody came, already approached, man, just ready to attack this last quarter of the season and just giving it all. That was the main step. Give it all you got, finish. That's been the motto, this week, just to finish. And I think everybody's coming in with a positive mindset and a hungry mindset. So,
anything you learned from film study before you guys departed for the bye week last week, maybe things that you said, hey, we need to make sure we do this better in this 6-game season that remains?
Yeah, just finish games in the fourth quarter, and just everybody just doing their job and trusting one another. Because in this game, like the smallest things can cost you a game. So I was just trying to hone in on the little things as much as possible, and those are going to turn into W's.
You did not get to play the last time you guys faced the Houston Texans Week 4. For you, appetizing the thought of going up against Nico Collins, Tank Dell, and that wide receiver group?
Yeah, of course, because it's the next game. Definitely good receivers. Definitely been making plays this season, so I'm excited, love to compete, and I'm ready for Sunday.
Doug wouldn't say, of course, if you will have the Nico assignment, but in his 3-4 years in the league now, how have you seen him grow into a true top 10 wide receiver for you to go up against?
Definitely he's been doing his thing these past couple of years, and Houston just paid him, so, definitely seeing a growth in his playmaking ability and the success he's been having in that offense.
What is it about their offense that gives them the opportunity to be so explosive?
Their ability to run and pass the ball. They have a bunch of different weapons on offense, so it keeps them from being one-dimensional, so they can attack you from, the pass game and the run game. So I think that's what makes them, successful.
Since you didn't play Week 4, is there another matchup that you can go back to as you prepare for this, or is it all about watching film from last year when it comes to this matchup on Sunday?
Just watching the film from the games they had this season, and of course, how our defense played them in Week 4. But also some of those clips of our matchup last year too. I've been studying too. So just a accumulation of both. Yeah.
Absolutely. Final question for me. You're the leader in this defensive back room. What was your message to that unit when you got back to work on Monday?
Just everybody give everything they got, man. Be selfless. And just be yourself. That's all we need. God allowed you to be here for a reason because he knew you were talented just the way you are. And that's the same thing in the NFL. Just be you and trust the guys around you, and we can be successful. So that's the main thing.
Tyson, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Our thanks to Tyson Campbell and our thanks to DJ Bieniemy of ESPN, who will join us here momentarily on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade as we head behind enemy lines. Again, if you have a question for Hayes Carline or myself, a comment, a score prediction, a lot of you chiming in on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures. I also see Hef fighting the good fight, our good friend Hef, on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line. I don't know where these Trevor Lawrence doubters are coming from, but they have arrived on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line. He hasn't played in 2 weeks. They all went to hibernation, Hayes Carline, and now here they are. Let's talk to DJ Bieniemy of ESPN coming up next right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
A symphony of sweat, grit, and glory. Dive into the action and live the moments. For play-by-play, it's 1010XL.
Bull riding, the perfect fusion of strength, skill, and pure willpower. Professional bull riders aren't just athletes. They're daredevils with cowboy souls. Come experience the true modern West, where 8 seconds of glory will create a lifetime of memories. It's the Michelob Ultra PBR Jacksonville at VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena, February 22nd and 23rd. Tickets available at Ticketmaster.com and PBR.com. Hold on tight. The ride of your life is about to begin.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Bold City AC, heating that rules. Is your AC ready for the holidays? Bold City Heating and Air ensures your AC stays in tip-top shape. We know that a clean AC is a healthy AC. Upgrade yours for just $96 a month and enjoy free duct cleanings with your new system. Plus, ask about our 0% financing options. Bold City AC, we got the crew. Bold City AC. Visit boldcityac.com.
Soccer continues to grow on the First Coast, and so does the need for better coverage. Join Cole Pepper, Mauricio Ruiz, and Becky Burley
on the Sporting Jack Soccer Hour, Tuesday nights at 6
on 1010 a.m.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a Dandy, and do it today.
If you're ready to transform your yard with a fence that stands out, elevate your curb appeal with Superior Fence and Rail. Superior takes pride in offering first-class service, friendly installers, and unmatched fence products. Mention this ad and get $250 off your next project. It's time to get off the fence and call today.
When you're on the fence, about a fence, SuperiorFenceandRail.com.
There's no way to prepare for the impact an accident makes on your life. That's why we've spent 40 years getting ready for that moment when you need compassion and immediate action. The right doctors, investigators, our team of experienced attorneys, and your free consultation is already in place. So if you've been hurt, remember, the Farah Safety Net is right here to catch you. All you have to do is call Farah & Farah. It's what we built. Jacksonville.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
While we await DJ Bienemy of ESPN on the Garber Auto Mall hotline as we get ready to go behind enemy lines, let's first take a look around the AFC South.
Last 3 drives, 13 plays, -1 total yards for the Titans, and the pick 6. Okonkwo, he's got some inside Texans territory, inside the 35-30, 25-20. He may go. Stiff arm, end zone. Touchdown, Titans.
It was the highlight of last week's 32-27 victory for the Tennessee Titans over the Houston Texans at NRG Stadium. Chig Okonkwo breaks free for a 70-plus yard score. And Carline, this game was just so fascinating to watch in real time because you led off the program by saying it. You think there's a chance the Texans could lose out for a third straight season. We could see the leader in the AFC South collapse down the stretch. And it felt like if only this past Sunday we were watching it before our very eyes.
Yeah, that was an ugly loss for the Texans. And to the Titans' credit, they seem to be figuring some things out. Levis is playing at a higher level. Obviously, Simmons has been a force in the interior of that Titans defensive front for a while. But Sweat is really looking good. The rookie's 360 pounds, moves incredibly well. So, that is something to be concerned about as we move forward. And obviously the Jaguars still have to play the Titans twice. But that was a terrible loss for Houston. And we talked about it. If they can't get it done today, then they go into their bye week. When they come out of that bye, schedule's awfully difficult. And so, absolutely. I mean, this division champion could easily have a losing record. I don't know that it'll be a 7-10 record, but I think 8-9 absolutely on the table for the AFC South champion.
Dolphins, Chiefs, Ravens, a rematch with the Titans. That is what awaits the Houston Texans after their bye week, after they play the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if they win once more this season, and they could lose out. I think the Dolphins. I like what the Dolphins are doing. They just
that game is in Miami.
Yeah, it's not going to be played in Arctic temperatures like Thursday night was at Lambeau. So if I had to pick that game right now, I'd pick Miami to beat Houston. And then obviously you mentioned a couple of the heavyweights, and the Titans have already beaten them once. So Houston has talent, obviously, and maybe when they come out of their bye, you'll see a refreshed Houston team playing at a higher level. But right now, I think it's very fair to question. They've lost 4 or 6 already. And it definitely feels like the way C.J. Stroud's getting pressured, he's been sacked 39 times already. Houston feels like a team really teetering. This is a huge game for them today.
Stroud finished 20 of 33 for 247 yards last week, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Will Levis, 18 of 24 for 278, 2 touchdowns, and his obligatory 1 interception. As we told you earlier in the program, the run game differential in that matchup last Sunday was fascinating. Tony Pollard, 20 carries for 119 yards. Joe Mixon, 14 carries for 22 yards. Not that the Jaguars should look past today's matchup, Hayes Carline. In this matchup, there's no question the X factor is going to be running the football. It might be tough sledding trying to run the football against the likes of Jeffrey Simmons and company along that Titans defensive front next Sunday.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Titans, it's historically been a bad matchup for the Jaguars. And I think it continues to be that because, to Tennessee's credit, they're very physical, particularly that defensive front. And so, next week is certainly going to be a challenge. I actually feel better about the Jaguars today than I do next week's game in Nashville.
I agree with you. Let's take a look at the Titans' upcoming schedule. They will face the Washington Commanders in the DMV this afternoon before, of course, hosting the Jaguars next week. Then they host the Cincinnati Bengals. They travel to Indianapolis. They travel here to Jacksonville, home against Houston. They are in last place. They have 3 victories on the season, but that is why when you look at that schedule and you say, which of these 3 teams below the Texans in the AFC South standings could make a run at it? Do you think the Titans have found something?
I think they have found something. Now, I don't know that they're going to make that kind of a sizzling run, but the schedule is pretty favorable, as you pointed out. It all comes down to Levis. I mean, if this recent month's play is what he is now becoming, then they're in pretty good shape. Yes, he had a turnover last week, but he's making some big league throws, making better decisions, and if they can keep that running game going, I mean, that was shocking. How well they ran the ball against Houston. So if that can continue, Tennessee will be certainly a tough out. And, I think in looking at it, so, yes, can they win the division? I don't think so. Can they have a winning record from here on out? I would be surprised if they don't.
Meanwhile, the Indianapolis Colts will travel to New England today. Talk about just Wild scheduling by the National Football League. Not only will the Houston Texans have their bye week next week, week 14, the Colts will also finally have their bye week next week, week 14. So they'll have an opportunity to get healthy before they travel to Denver, home against Tennessee, at the New York Giants, who, of course, could be in play for the number 1 overall pick at that juncture, and then hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars in the final week of the regular season. The Colts are currently 2 games back of the Texans in the AFC South standings. Hayes, if you're Indy and you see the Texans leaking oil the way they are, you have to kind of like your prospects, especially looking at that schedule in which I know you may like the Patriots today. They're probably going to be favored in at least 3 of their next 4 games.
Absolutely. They don't have Josh Downs right now, and that's a concern because he's had an outstanding year. But Richardson's playing better. He's using his legs well, and he's healthy. Now that could change today. We'll see. I mean, that's always going to be a concern with him. But, yeah, I think you'd have to like the Colts' position right now. The schedule's much more favorable than Houston's, and you're just 2 games back. And so, again, with all these teams in this division, it's the lesser of the evils. I mean, none of the 4 are a real contender to go deep in the tournament. Whoever wins this division is going to host a game and get beat, in my opinion. And so, but yeah, I mean, I think with the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, defensively, if they can, stay steady, then the Colts do have a chance, I think, to overtake the Texans.
Head on a swivel, and that's what we do not only when we look at the AFC South, but also as we navigate the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. We are going to go behind enemy lines, I promise. A very special guest is going to be stepping in for DJ Bieniemy. He will join us on the other side of this timeout, and then, yes, we will say hello to our friends from Brackish Vodka right here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call lickety-split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call lickety-split AC Plumbing and Electric.
Hey everybody, Jennifer Marion with Randy Marion Cadillac in Jacksonville here to say hello, and we'd sure like to have your business.
You know what? They're going to love the king of price.
My dad believes in making great deals and having a great selection in stock.
Cadillac XT4s, XT5s, and XT6s, and Escalades.
The all-electric Cadillac Lyriq.
CT4s and CT5s.
Cadillac luxury and selection is just waiting for you.
At Randy Marion Cadillac, Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
And don't forget, tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com.
The next generation of college stars are here in Jacks. Tom Hacker joined 1010XL all day Wednesday to learn where high school's top prospects will be heading. The early signing period is brought to you by San Jose Collision.
On 1010XL.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg, the president of Underwoods. Clayton, I know you're the head diamond buyer at Underwoods, and you travel to the markets to buy diamonds. Why don't you just look at an emailed list and have them send you the diamond?
Frank, there are a couple of reasons we go straight to the source when we're selecting the diamonds we want to put the Underwood name on. First, as an expert diamond buyer, I have to see a diamond before I can really judge its beauty versus the price it's being offered at. Second, when we're at the source, we have huge selections to choose our diamonds from, so we don't have to compromise the Underwood quality standard. The result is we control what goes into our diamond stock instead of allowing a diamond dealer to send us what he wants us to have. The bottom line is we're able to offer our customers carefully selected, beautiful diamonds that we're proud to have carry the Underwood name.
Underwoods, serving excellence since 1928 in San Marco, Avondale, and the shops of Ponte Vedra.
It's the end of the year sale with Universal Roof and Contracting. Get 15% off all roof repairs and replacements, plus a $250
$50 gift card for holiday shopping. With financing options as low as $150 a month, protecting your home's never been easier. Schedule your free roof inspection today. Call 855-ROOF-HELP, and this offer expires December 31st. License number CCC 057165, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. Hey, Jacksonville Koozies, it's me, Soccer Sam, for Salvatore's Pizza. Rochester, New York's favorite pizza is now open in Jacksonville, Florida, Tapestry Park at the Loft Hotel Plaza. Daily $10 deals, dine in with beer and wine, and delivery at salvatores.com. The famous Formoso family brings Salvatore's Pizza, Rochester's favorite pizza, including our 32-piece sheet pizza for your next event. Go with me, baby. Salvatores.com.
Being an athlete means having a healthy desire to do as much as you can with your body for as long as you can. Gatorade has lower sugar, electrolyte-backed hydration options to keep you rehydrated and replenished. Gatorade, for every athlete.
From Gatorade Zero to Gatorade Endurance Formula and Gator Light, there's something for every athlete. Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. It's a win-win. Gatorade, official partner of the NFL.
Mia here for MyBookie. Hope everyone started the week off right with our friends at MyBookie. This weekend, we have an NFL game on Friday, a ton of rivalry games in college on Saturday, and of course, some bangers on an NFL Sunday. Jacksonville hosts the Texans at 1 p.m. Sunday as 5.5-point home dogs with a 43.5-point over-under. It's hard to bet on the Jags at this point, but crazier things have happened coming off of a bye. Next, the Ravens are 2.5-point home favorites over the Eagles with a 50-point over-under. Both teams play great defense, so take a hard look at betting the under. Then, for Sunday Night Football, San Fran in Buffalo, where the Bills are 7-point favorites with a 46-point over-under. Keep an eye on if Brock Purdy plays or not and make your bets accordingly. Still the best sign-up deposit bonus in the industry available to Florida bettors, so what are you waiting for? Sign up now and get a double deposit bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit up to $1,000 using promo code 1010XL. Make yourself a winner this weekend with MyBookie.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
Oh, we are calling it an audible that is sure to warm your soul on a 45-degree morning in Duval County on the Terminix Kickoff Show. The one and only Cole Thompson comes off the bench to head behind enemy lines and join us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. He is the managing editor of the Texans Wire. Cole, thank you for popping on with us as we look ahead to today's matchup between the Jags and the Texans.
Mia, let's just call a spade a spade. I'm known for my college football love down in Duval County, but much like Billy Napier when he had to go turn the keys over to DJ Lagway, we're going to turn this show around, and we're going to make this an A-plus performance behind enemy lines. So let's not waste any time. I'm glad to be on with you, and more importantly, happy Thanksgiving to you and all the family, including my favorite cat, Terrence.
Absolutely. A happy Thanksgiving to at Mr. Cole Thompson on X. He is, of course, also a host of SEC Unfiltered, so you probably have heard him a time or two here on the Superstation, but he also covers the Houston Texans. Cole, in speaking with you earlier this week, in speaking with you and our friend Cody Stutes after that 32-27 loss to the Tennessee Titans, I was told that this Texans team comes into Duval County leaking oil. Elaborate for me.
Yeah, it is basically trying to sputter back to the shop before the bye week, and they may have to get a little bit of a push from help on the outside. And that help is Jacksonville doing Jacksonville things where they turn the ball over inside the red zone, missed opportunities on third down conversions, the inability to score points inside of the 20. That is basically where Houston is right now. Since week 6, they have scored one offensive touchdown in the final 30 minutes of games. The play calling has been very askew from Bobby Slowick, but also you got to give a little bit of gripe towards C.J. Stroud. This is a second-year quarterback that many people believed was going to be a MVP candidate, a running for Offensive Player of the Year, the backbone of this Texans team, very similar to what we saw a few years ago with Trevor Lawrence and what we saw with Jordan Love last season. And NFL defenses have been able to start pinpointing where are his weaknesses, and they attest that towards him making mistakes. He has 9 interceptions on the year. He's almost doubled from what he threw last season. And the crazy part is, Mia, he's got an interception, at least one, in each of his last 4 games. So it's a continuing habit. And they usually come at ill-advised times as well, whether it be on a scoring drive where they're at the 25-yard line like we saw a few weeks ago against the Detroit Lions, pass the back of the end zone, Carlton Davis picks it off, intended for Tank Dell, or they're in ill-advised moments deep in Houston's own territory. Last week against the Tennessee Titans, he tried to connect with John Mechie. They both were on the wrong gear. I talked to John afterwards the game, and he said, I ran the wrong route. CJ, the throw was a little bit too high for me to make and recoup from. They were able to get points off it. So it's an area to where Jacksonville is going to have to benefit them. The oil is completely leaking. They're going to go into the shop of the bye week. More importantly, they're going to have to figure out, do they need a new engine, i.e. a new offensive coordinator, or is it manageable to get them through at least the holiday season, and maybe Santa Claus will get them a new car, i.e. offensive coordinator for Christmas.
Hey, Cole, it's Hayes Carline. Thank you so much for joining us. Do you think Houston will be able to get a lot of pressure and hits on Trevor Lawrence today?
I think they can. This is one of the biggest blessings for this team is that they have 2 Defensive Player of the Year candidates on the front 7. Danielle Hunter has been tearing it up since Will Anderson left in Week 9 with the ankle injury. He leads the team in sacks. He leads the team in tackles for losses, leads the team in pressure, leads the team in QB hits. He also last week dominated against J.C. Latham, the young offensive tackle for the Tennessee Titans. He had 3 sacks in that game, 5 tackles for loss. So he has been a difference maker. And this is, a player that we don't talk about, I think, enough in the primetime light. He's going to finish this year with over 100 career sacks, over 175 tackles for losses, and he just turned 30. He still has 5 more good years. There is a very good shot for him to get into the Hall of Fame. And then we got to talk about Will Anderson. Will is one of the more determined players, and his growth from year 1 to year 2 needs to be a case study. Because if he's done a great job of maneuvering from playing with his hand in the dirt and 3-tech to moving outside to that jack linebacker, very similar to what he did at Alabama, but his finesse has really been a big blessing. One thing that he said that he wanted to do this offseason was gain about 15 pounds of muscle because he believed that he got bullied in the AFC divisional round matchup last year against Baltimore. He really hasn't lost any of that speed. And so that's an area of strength with the Texans team. Last week they had 13 tackles for losses. They had 8 sacks. We know how bad at times the offensive line can be for Jacksonville in pressure rate. The question is, will Trevor Lawrence be smart enough to get the ball out in time? He's actually one of the fewer sacked quarterbacks in the AFC this year, so he has a good feel of where the pressure is coming from. And the other thing that's really important is that there's a lot of teams that do a good job of getting interior pressure. Houston is once again going to be without Foley Fodakowski, the former Jacksonville defensive tackle, who now is the starting tackle for Houston. And they're going to be limited at that DT spot. So not a lot of rotation. If you're going to get pressure, it's going to come with Danico Autry lining up on the inside, or maybe you see a Jerry Hughes line up on the outside to push Daniel Hunter in.
Cole Thompson is our guest on the Garber Auto Mall hotline as we go behind enemy lines. Cole, quickly, Joe Mixon, 14 carries for 22 yards against the Tennessee Titans. Was that a testament to the Titans' run defense or a struggling offensive line and run game for the Houston Texans?
I'll go 80-20 testament to the Titans' defense. D'Amico Ryan said early on in the week that this is a very stout front 7 headlined by T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons. And they've done a good job of eliminating explosive runners all season long, but there have been some questions when it comes to the offensive line. I never thought I would say this, Mia, but the Houston Texans miss Kenyon Green. They really do miss that former first-round interior offensive lineman because of when he was at Texas A&M, he was an All-American because of his run blocking. That has been a hindrance as of late. He still is averaging 99.3 yards per play, so there's a reason to believe that he can turn the corner and get back to his overall triple-digit ways. It's a really good front 7. I do think that there are going to be some question marks when it comes to run blocking, however, up front.
And before we let you go, our super sub, the one and only Mr. Cole Thompson on X, a score prediction. What are your expectations for today's matchup between the Jaguars and the Texans?
So the Texans this year have been favored in 10 games. They have only beaten the odds one time. It came against the New England Patriots. The line is currently set at 5 this morning. It is such a hard line for me to even come close to touching because of we've seen this team go up against inferior competition despite having the dominance and just not be able to get the job done. So I'm taking the Jaguars to cover. I'm taking Houston to win. I feel like that we're going to see something very similar to what we did in Week 4 when these two met up. Maybe it's a 1-yard touchdown pass to John Metchie versus Dare Agumbawale. I think that maybe you're going to get a big turnover at one point in the second half. Houston's going to struggle, but they are going to get the job done going into the bye week. They'll move to 8-5, and they'll be one game closer to winning the division title. But I do expect Jacksonville to make this a final game. Give me 24-20. Hey, it's a repeat of what we saw in Week 4.
24-20 final, says one Cole Thompson. Appreciate you always joining us, brother man, on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. The super sub. Honestly, I think you're going to have more of a cult following than myself or Hayes Carlyon in Duval when the season is all said and done.
Hey, I appreciate you guys. You have a good rest of your morning. Take care.
Again, you can find him on X at Mr. Cole Thompson. Before we say hello to our friends from Brackish Vodka, a bit of breaking news on the Terminix Kickoff show. We hardly ever get to bring you news when we join you.
Oh, boy.
Typically from 8 to 10 a.m. for a 1 o'clock kickoff. According to both Adam Schefter of ESPN and Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network, the Jaguars have signed starting left tackle Walker Little to a 3-year, $45 million extension. That includes $26 million guaranteed. What's most interesting, Adam Schefter points out, is that Trent Baalke, the general manager of the Jacksonville Jaguars, was heavily involved in the negotiations. These are Adam Schefter's words, trying to solidify Jacksonville's future. The Jaguars are letting Baalke operate and plan for the future. When I say that, Hayes Carlyon, you say...
I mean, it's nothing against Walker Little. You know, congratulations to him and his family, but... what are you doing as an owner of this franchise if you're still allowing these decisions to be made? I mean, Trent Baalke shouldn't be making any decisions right now of any kind of future consequence. Again, it's dumbfounding that a general manager of a team that is 3-14 in their last 17 games is making significant financial decisions on the future of this club. It's not that it's a bad deal. Again, good for Walker Little, but it just speaks to the nature of how this organization is run. And it's just, unfortunately, it's in a tough spot right now. The Jaguars have got to redo the organizational chart. He desperately needs an executive vice president of football operations, whatever he wants to call it. But he needs somebody that can talk to him beyond the general manager and the coach. And he is, Shad Khan I don't know why. That infrastructure needs to be in place for this very reason. And hopefully this is a deal that will be good for the Jaguars, but I am just shocked by it. What about you?
I am not surprised because I do think that regardless of if it's Trent Baalke making the decisions in 2025 or a different general manager, this move had to be made because, are you going to roll into the NFL draft in April and just say, yeah, we got Anton Harrison and that's it? I think this is a team-friendly deal. Do I believe this is Trent Baalke trying to put his best foot forward in an effort to ensure his services are retained in Jacksonville? I do think it is that as well. But ultimately, even if you are to part ways with him as your general manager, I do think that it's a step towards, at the very least, creating a sustainable infrastructure, even with a new regime at the top next year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see really what kind of player Walker Little becomes. I mean, that's going to be the key to the whole thing. But again, is he fit? I think I would have liked whoever the next decision maker is to make that call on Walker Little and the offensive line. And so again, I think it speaks to a questionable owner making a questionable decision.
It sounds like a deal that's similar to Ezra Cleveland's that he was given this offseason, and so I think it's a win for the franchise. You want to know what's a win for us, Hayes Carlyon? Even despite our shifted schedule and our friend Mr. Cole Thompson joining us behind enemy lines a little bit late, we still get to say hello to our friends from Brackish Vodka before the Terminix Kickoff show is through. That is certainly a victory for us, as our friend Chad Mays now joins us on the headset live at Tailgaters Parking, Growlers Bar and Grill. Thanks for rolling with the punches today.
Oh,
let's make sure. Let's make sure your microphone. Now your microphone's on. Let's try that again.
I'll say I'm ready. I could do anything all day, whatever you need me to do.
We're thankful for you.
Thank you, brother.
We're thankful for you. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
Oh, man, I had awesome. How about y'all?
Oh, it was fantastic.
It's fantastic. Got a little Pizza-giving in and came down here and ready to go.
Love it. Well, we're ready to go with whatever delicious concoction you have from our friends at Brackish Vodka. Before we get cooking, remind the folks at home exactly what is Brackish Vodka.
So Brackish Vodka is a locally made gluten-free vodka made right here in Jacksonville. Proceeds and everything from sales stay right here at Duval. All over Jacksonville. It's an ABC, Southern, whatever the other Total Wine. I'm from
all the spirit shops.
All the places.
All
Go
the
anywhere and they're there. Go anywhere and they're there. So they got all new flavors too. They got like tangerine, peach, pineapple, marshmallow, cinnamon, coffee. I guess coffee is last year's one, but they got them all.
We don't have the shot ski today.
No.
What exactly are we cooking up?
So we're going to go back to the old school.
Ooh.
You know, I feel like we've done shot ski. We haven't done the shot ski. We've had a drink. We've had a shot. We've tried to do anything we can. So I'm going to bring back, hopefully the donkey will bring back some of that whole, what was it, 2 years ago when we went to the playoffs.
That run.
The magic of the Duval Donkey. We are trying to manifest it, conjure it here at Tailgaters Park and Growlers Bar and Grill. Chad, remind the folks at home exactly what goes into a Duval Donkey.
So we're going with the OG Brackish. It's the regular one, and we're doing 1.5 ounce pour, and then we're going to put some lime juice in there.
And mind you, this is all on the rocks, folks. So
yes.
I know it's a little chilly out there, but it's warmer in the sun, and this will certainly warm your soul.
Well, of course, if you drink it like Hayes and I do, then it warms you up.
Well, I tell you this, if Trent Bucky keeps making deals, I'm going to need a lot of these.
Oh, man, me too.
Ginger beer, a little bit of lime juice, and of course, the OG Brackish Vodka.
Cheers.
This is why you come to the Terminix Kickoff Show, folks.
Let's go
if
for
you're
the
not
win,
watching
baby.
on YouTube, this is why you do it. We got Chad Mays, we got Hayes Carline, we got the Duval Donkey, we got the Duval Donkey Chug. It is back. Can it conjure up a win for your Jacksonville Jaguars today, Chad Mays?
Let's go, baby. Let's get some wins.
Great drink.
These boys are fired up. They're ready to go. We
Ready
got
to
the
go.
Duval Donkey. We got our friends at Brackish Vodka. Remind the folks, too, what other fun stuff do we have going on at Growlers Bar and Grill this afternoon?
So at Growlers today, we're going to do a 2-for-1 just for for the hour leading up to the game. If you come out, I mean, the sun's starting to break out now. Everybody's starting to peel the first layer off. Starting to see some people walk around with some T-shirts on, and we're doing it up in here. So if y'all just come out and from that 12 to 1 o'clock time, we'll give you a 2-for-1.
12 to 1, 2 for 1.
2 for
Talk
1.
about a deal. Sounds almost like the great efficient deal that Trent Baalke just
There you go.
negotiated for Walker Little. Chad, thanks so much for joining us. If you guys are here at Tailgaters Parking, make sure you stop on by, say hi to Chad and the gang. We've got 3 minutes remaining in today's Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation. It is time for our picks. Dylan Denmark, back to 1010XL World Headquarters we go. What say you between the Jaguars and the Texans here this afternoon?
A whole week I felt the Texans, but after listening to Cole Thompson talk about the Texans and the Jags coming off a bye and Walker Little getting a contract, man, lock it in, Jags. Don't ask me how. Don't ask me why. Jags win somehow, some way.
I like it. How about you, John O'Leary? What say you, engineer extraordinaire?
Today is a weird day. It is freezing cold in North Florida. Walker Little just got a huge deal. Trent Baalke slinging Shad's money still. It's going to continue to be a weird day. Brian Thomas Jr., 2 touchdowns. Take the Jaguars plus money, 165 on the money line. Jaguars win 24-20.
In case this sways your thinking, Carline, although I know you've been adamant the Jaguars are winning today throughout the course of the week, maybe it's the Walker Little extension, but our friends at MyBookie have just shifted this line from a 4-point spread, which started at 5, mind you, when we made our picks on helmets and heels early last week. It was a 5-point line, 3.5. You say?
I think the Jaguars win the game, 20-17. Jaguars coming off a bye. Houston playing their 13th game in 13 weeks. That's it. That's enough for me. This is in this league. That trend usually holds. I like the Jaguars in an upset today.
I'll go with Cole Thompson, 24-20 in favor of the Houston Texans. Our thanks to Cole Thompson for joining us off the bench, courtesy of course, the Texans Wire. Our thanks to Frangie. Our thanks to Chad Mays and the crew at Brackish Vodka. And our thanks to you, our listeners, for joining us here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade. The Publix Kickoff Show comes up next right here on the Superstation. You are listening to 1010XL at 92.5 FM. We will catch you later.